What's up,
guys? Welcome back to VibeCheck. VibeCheck. We are on episode 2, topic of the day, ending relationships on a positive note. Obviously, my boys and I, when we're picking topics, we're thinking, okay, what's something we can talk about that can effectively help other people, spread positivity, and overall just make a better impact or more of a positive, influential impact on your guys' lives. So, that being said, I'm going to let Speaks kind of take some lead right now and kind of talk about the gist what we're about to dive into.
So, relationships, right, guys? We've all been there, whether it be your family, significant others, even your children.
Friends.
Friendships.
Colleagues.
Anything.
Your dog, maybe?
Your professor.
Your dog.
Your dog. So, anything really. It's relatable to anybody and everybody. So, what we want to dive into is when it comes to relationships.
Oh, wait. I'm sorry to interrupt. By the way, guys, this is Robby Speaks. Round of applause.
Thank you.
Wait, hold on. Sorry, there's some fans right outside.
Oh my God.
We're recording,
yeah, guys, right now it's actually raining in LA. You know, we just moved it from Ohio. The weather's gonna be perfect. It's like storming right now. How unbecoming.
I think I saw a cat fly.
Nick, too. I've had quite enough. Speaks, we interrupted him. Back on topic.
Sorry, very much.
Sorry.
But yeah, anyway, guys, when it comes to relationships, they can go either way. Sometimes they're in your life for a certain amount of time. Sometimes, they're in there for a purpose. And sometimes they end, unfortunately. But what we're trying to talk to you guys today about is how to end things on a positive note in any circumstance. It could be...
And why it's so crucial, why it's so important.
Yeah.
For both of your guys' minds.
Yeah. For anybody's mental health, really, positivity is key. And it doesn't just happen overnight. It takes training. You have to train your mind to think in a positive manner. And you pretty much have to do that every day consistently and wake up thinking like, what can I do to improve my ability to think this way? How can I make this person feel, cherished in any regard? So in terms of that, that's kind of what we're diving into, and I hope you guys get some benefit out of it, but we've got a lot to talk about, so let's dive right in.
It's a mature mindset kind of thing, I would say. It's something where, even all of us, I would say would still kind of struggle with it because naturally as a human, if someone wrongs you, or if you're like, hey, that ain't right, why'd you do that? That ain't cool. Like naturally, you're gonna quickly jump to anger, more so than a step. Like you're gonna jump into it and hop the gun and be like, hey, and you're gonna assume more so than take a step back and think, okay, why would they do that? And then have empathy for them in that situation. It's a very difficult thing. It's like striving to be perfect, even though no one can be perfect. Just setting your mind to be like, okay, what is the best way I can healthily go about this situation?
Yeah, in regard to that topic, I recently made a TikTok about this, but kind of like live my life like a sponge. You have to go into every situation and any topic that even we talk about, knowing that you can either learn something or gain something from every person or experience that you go into. So we're not coming at you guys like, oh, we know everything about positivity and how to end things on a perfect note. That's not by any means the regard at all. But if we can help you guys in any way, just to give our perspective on, the situation, in any situation we ever talk about in any podcast whatsoever, I hope it, benefits you guys. So yeah.
That's true.
Along with what you were saying, a lot of times people do jump the gun, and most of the time it's complete miscommunication. You need to go to the person.
I'm so happy you said that.
Right? You just need to go right to the person and ask them instead of assume what they did was and why they did it.
I kid you not. I was literally sitting here and I'm like, Nick's about to say something. And if he doesn't, I'm going to be like, hey, Nick, say something. not because he's quiet, but because literally, that is so huge. Because
he's got it.
So I formed this video team in Ohio at the time. I formed this team back in January of 2020, and sometimes with the team there'd be some drama here or there, and I told the team, look, we're making content, I know we all don't know each other. I had some of my best friends on the team, but some that I recruited, we just met, and so I'm like, guys, if you ever have any issue with anybody, the chances are, and I swear to you, it's probably just a miscommunication or misunderstanding, and if you ask them, you're probably gonna be like, oh, that's why you did that. And they're going to be like, yeah! And then you're going to be like, yeah! And then you guys are going to be like, and you guys are going to hug, I'm so sorry I was mad at you, yeah! and that's gonna go on for at least a couple hours. Something like that, or speak. I don't know about all that. But that's, remember I was telling all you guys that I was like, hey, so that's huge. But anyways, guys, I want to hop into what inspired us to talk about this topic, and basically hop in the story. It was about a month ago, and I'm in my car. I'm at my buddy Thompson's place. And, I'm just venting to Speaks over here. I'm like, this and that, this and that.
You did some venting to me as well.
Yeah, I told Nick.
There were some long nights where I didn't get any sleep.
Yeah, Nick goes, Shane, if your milk's spoiled and you want to eat some cereal, just go to Walmart and buy some more milk. And I was like, but Walmart is far. And Nick would be like, anyways.
All right, but speaking in terms of that, speaking of, calling a friend in general, sometimes when your friends are going through something, it's really important just to be there as an individual. You don't even have to have good advice by any means, but as long as you're being a good listener, really being attentive on what the other person is saying and putting yourself in their shoes, showing empathy, which we talk a lot about, it's going to go a long way, whether it be, anybody in your life. So just making sure that you're being there for that person. There's unconditional love no matter what they tell you, what they say. As long as you're there for them, they're going to reciprocate that in a much positive manner. So yeah, it's just another thing I wanted to touch on.
That's straight up facts.
And one of my favorite quotes is, over communicating is communicating just enough. Because in most cases, whenever there's any sort of resentment, it's just, there was not enough communication. So I just wanted to share that one quote because I think it will go a long way for a lot of you.
That actually reminds me of the book I read by Tony Robbins, Awaken the Giant Within.
Which I'm reading right now.
I gotta start reading.
You gotta read it. It's a great book. All of you need to read that book. Great book.
Speaking of communication, it's so key because it can start off as like just a little comment that is thrown back and forth between one another. It could be like one little thing of shade thrown one way. And it could go a long way if you guys don't communicate that bothers one person or the other. And it could really build up over time. So if I have a problem with somebody in any terms of relationship, friendship, or significant other, it's very crucial to bring that up right away so it doesn't build up. It's going to snowball effect eventually. So as long as you communicate your struggles, and you're also being a cheerleader to one another, showing and making sure that you both are constantly growing, constant and never-ending improving. Another quote by Tony Robbins.
Yeah. Typical Speaks the signature.
But like I said, it's very crucial to bring those right away, just so that there's no, what's the word?
Resentment.
Miscommunication.
So just want to talk on that.
That's straight up facts. Building on top of that, in the car, talking to Speaks, I'm like, dude, I don't know, like, I feel like I should be angry, but I'm more so just sad, and like something is just stopping me from feeling any anger. And I'm like, I don't know why. It does not make sense to me. And Speaks just goes, because dude, that's like the mature mindset. That's like being genuine, and that's what you need to do. And I'm like, what do you mean by that? And then that's when you're talking to me about the domino effect. And now I want you to fully dive into, because that really woke me up, and I was just kind of like, huh? And I'm like, that is the best advice I've ever freaking heard in my life.
And
So Speaks, please, for the fans, for the people listening.
It's one of my favorites.
How wait into it. Just how wait into it.
In regards to that, that's kind of like how we wanted to discuss it, like coming up with this podcast in the first place. I think that was one of the first conversations we had.
That was the conversation, because after I'm like, dude, that was really good. You were like, bro, if someone heard this call, I'm like, bro, podcast. And you're like, I'd be down. And this is VibeCheck. I remember talking.
Yeah, so when he came to me with his struggles, like I'd been through a similar situation myself, so I had to like dig into my own situation and try to figure out how I got through that myself. But I really didn't have an answer for him because it was a particular situation that I had never been in before. So I was really speechless for a couple of minutes. I was like, I'm sorry, like I don't know exactly what to say. I don't know the right words. But it really hit me, and I was like, it's really crucial to have a positive mindset when you're going into this situation. So what I told him is that you shouldn't. I can't say you shouldn't, because everybody has their own feelings and they should be respectively with those feelings and such. But try your best to think of it on a positive note, which is why we're here. And basically, what I wanted to tell Shane is that like when you're giving positive energy and you're providing that to anybody in your life, it's very crucial to do that, because when they're receiving positive energy, even if they're, you know, spewing negative energy your way, it's still very important to make sure that they're getting that positive energy, because then it can impact any relationship in their lives. I learned this in Youth Leadership Council back in high school, which was one of the best experiences I'd ever done, you know, community service. I was really, you know, feeding the homeless and being all that, but
we get it. You're a very nice
yeah,
guy.
And you were homeless too, which we will
yeah,
get into.
yeah.
So.
It's another topic.
Yeah.
But what they taught me was there's this thing called the ripple effect, or what I call the starfish story. And basically what that is, and here's the story for you. So there's this little kid, he's walking down the beach, throwing starfish into the ocean, you know, just, you know, going about his day. And an elderly gentleman came up to me, he's like, you know, kid, what are you doing, like throwing all these starfish into the ocean? It's not gonna make a difference. And he just looks at him, gives it a pause, throws another one in, says, I made a difference for that one. So that's basically the gist of the story, and it basically really implies the fact that, like, it doesn't matter how much you try or how much effort you're putting into the world, how much positive, you know, energy you're putting into the world, as long as you can make a difference or an impact for that one individual, that can be exponential. You know, you could like have one conversation. I can have a conversation with Shane. He can, you know, be there and support so many other friends of his that maybe I don't have the connection to do that. Maybe I don't have the friends that are going through that, but he does now. So that he can provide that information to somebody else, which could be super beneficial. So.
And it's infinite. And the thing is too, like, someone could be in like a very poor headspace, and you could literally like change their day. It could change their life, but it could just put them into like a positive mindset for the day, and then they pass. It's just infinite.
And it might not mean a lot to you in the moment, but it could hit you in 5 days, you know, a week later.
Yeah.
You might think about it again and be like, you know what, it's right.
It kind of goes along with like a small deed goes a long way, you know what I mean? Just holding the door, or just saying hi to someone.
Yeah, that's another thing, just practicing your mind to think positively.
It's not overnight, as you were telling me.
When you have a negative situation in your headspace, try to rewire it and say, like, maybe this did happen for a reason. Maybe there's a purpose for this. Maybe, you know, personal opinion, but maybe God will use this as a stepping stone to where He wants us to be in the future. So that's, you know, I'm talking too much, but
no, you're
talking just enough.
Basically, Speaks was telling me, he goes, Nagy, he told me the starfish story, and I'm like, you want to go fish for starfish? He's like, Nagy, you missed the point. No, but he was telling me, I'm surprised you didn't look at the domino effect, because that's what
it's the same thing.
Yeah, right. So he's basically telling me, he goes, Nagy, this person that you feel, you know, or anybody that you should be like angry towards or whatever, it's like, if you're wondering why you want to be positive about it, it's a domino effect. Like, this person, if they may have wronged you, and if you're like, oh no, I'm not going to talk to them unless they apologize to me. They wronged me, and I'm not going to stand for that. Screw that. I am done. I'm out of here. You know, if that negative mindset, just like, no, ball's in their court. They need to make the first move. I'm not forgiving them until they fix the problem, until they apologize, because they're the ones who screwed up. Speaks goes, no. Get it out of your head. It's bullshit. He basically says, they don't need to apologize in order for you to forgive them. You can just be like, you know what? Because you don't know what they're going through. You have no idea. A lot of times, and you know, Speaks always, he preaches this, it's not a reflection of you, it's a reflection of who they are. You have no idea at the time what someone could be emotionally struggling with. And so you have to give benefit of the doubt and have empathy. And you can't allow yourself to assume, because that's when you have anger and resentment. So he's like, Nagy, it doesn't matter if you think they wronged you. Forgive them. Have empathy. Why hold on to the anger? If you try to go out of your way and be the bigger person and end things on a positive note, they're going to be like, huh. Even if they go, huh, well, still, screw you. You know, even if they don't like talk to you, it's still more positivity they had than to begin with, because like you could have been like, hey, screw you. And it's like, oh yeah, you're right, screw you too. And then now they're just going to be more negative. But if they're more positive, you're like, you know, hey, I forgive you. You're fine. I wish you the best.
Yeah, and this is the information that I provide you with. It wasn't just like I've always known this throughout my life, but it's been the experiences that I've been through. I've had, you know, literally people that I've called my best friends, and like something so little, I'm not going to get into specifics, but something so little could like make the biggest impact, and you guys could like drift apart. And there's always that, you know, feeling of like, I really want them back in my life. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Like you really just want to communicate something with them to make sure that like everything's okay and that you both wish each other well. But you just have to drop the pride, really. I think that's what it comes down to.
Drop the pride. Listen, drop the pride. That is the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Hard for me. I know, Nagy, but seriously, drop the freaking pride.
And another like very, very important thing is every day is not given. So like you might not get the opportunity
to fix things sometimes in the future.
So
that's the scary.
You gotta think exactly, and if you didn't, you would never forgive yourself. So it's very important.
So what I want to tell you guys is that if there's somebody out there in your life that you haven't talked to in a while, and maybe there is a little bit of resentment built up, literally, like I said, drop the pride. Not even give them a text message. Give them a call.
Give them a phone call.
It's so much more
personable.
sincere. It's personable.
No miscommunication over the phone.
Even if you can meet in person, much better. But maybe sometimes with situations that's not the case. You can't do that. But literally, it's going to make you feel. It's going to give you a lot of feeling of freedom, individually, and freedom for the other person in general. Like I said, it's just positive vibes, positive energy, and it's a great check for the vibe. So.
Yeah, vibe check. Exactly. But as we were saying, we were talking about Domino's Pizza, or no, but thanks for elaborating on that point. Is our pizza about beer?
I don't know.
All right, well, guys, thank you for joining this podcast. We're about to have some pizza. Episode 3, the continuation, and no, but anyways, so back to the domino effect, and to finish my point, if again if they wrong you or whatever, drop the pride. Glad you said that, and just even if it's the hardest thing. Even if they really did wrong you, even if they're completely in the wrong, you're 100% in the right, which obviously, like, in most cases, you're more wrong than you realize. Mm-hmm. Like, you're not, it's really hard to take a step back and, like, look at yourself. And so a lot of times, even down the road, even months later, you're going to be like, wait, I did screw up right then and there. And so that's the miscommunication Nick was talking about.
And you're learning and growing from it.
A lot of it, a lot of times, you'll be surprised how 50-50 is. You're not this perfect angel, I swear.
I thought you were, though. You're not?
I thought I was too. I thought, no. But anyways, so even say in the situation, they 100% wronged you, and you're just like, you know what, it's fine. They're like, what? And you're like, yeah, I forgive you. It's totally cool. I have no idea what you may be going through. It's not my placement to make a judgment. You give them more positivity. What does that do? They have more positivity than to give to someone else, because you're the 5 people you surround yourself with. So when they go with their group of friends and they're all hanging out and that person has more positivity, their friends are going to pick that up. That's a trait. It's a mindset, and they're going to start being positive. And then what they're going to do, they're going to go to their other friend groups, and then they're going to get more positivity. It's a domino effect, and it's a never-ending cycle. Now, on the other side of the coin, if you give them negativity, if someone wrongs you, instead of going, I forgive you, you go, I'm never going to forgive you. You're evil. You're more evil than Megan from Drake and Josh. Stomach aches. You give me stomach aches. Then they have more negativity. They're going to be more upset, more unhappy with life. And what's that going to do? It's going to spread more negativity to their friends, their family. And it's like, why?
It's like a domino effect, I think.
Yeah. Something about pizza.
Has that ever used that before?
It's putting more negativity in the world when you can't forgive. Mm-hmm. And as a Christian, again, and I know you preface everything you say talking about religion with your opinion. My opinion, it's like, especially living as a Christian through God, you always need to forgive, because if Christ can forgive everyone, who are you? Who the hell are you to be so arrogant? To be like, well, I can't forgive them because, Christ, you may forgive every sin, but me, no, this person, they stole $5 out of my wallet, and that, my friend, is crossing the line. It's just not worth it.
Another thing that I did want to talk on that, forgiveness is obviously key, but when you're communicating with somebody, if something big happened between you guys and you guys are really struggling with a particular situation, or it's just been a lifetime of resentment built up over time, it's really important and crucial to realize the timing of when you do reach out, because if something happens...
I love that you're about to say. Everyone, please listen to this. The timing, because you're talking about the mindset.
Yeah.
They need to have the time.
So when you're going into that situation and you want to forgive somebody, you have to make sure that they're in the right mindset. I had a loved one share this with me, and it took me it just opened my eyes to a whole new realization. You have to make sure that the other person in the situation is in the correct mind space, in the right situation in life where they're receiving of that information. If something just happened and you guys still have a lot of anger and resentment towards each other, and you're like, I've been going through all this, self-growth and all this, forgiveness and stuff like that, I can just reach out. They might take that as like, he's just trying to one-up me. He's like thinking he's better than me, like whatever. Not talking to any particular situation, but you just have to give it time. Just give it time. It could be months down the line, a year down the line. but it's a hard balance because, like you said, you don't know if you're ever going to have that day promised for you.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you don't have to, but I would encourage you to wait a little bit and make sure that you are confident in how you truly feel. If you're doing it to...
that day promised to you, you're talking about like having that closure with that person, that proper closure to end things on good terms. Just want to clarify that, go ahead.
Yep. So yeah, it's a hard balance, but just give it some time and make sure that information of forgiveness is being received how you want it to be perceived. And that's pretty much it.
All right, so say I'm a viewer and say, because I know even I want to ask this question, how do you know if it's like if it's so soon after the ending of that relationship and you feel like, okay, this person definitely still has anger, they're not in the right mindset. How do you know, okay, now is the time, they're probably in the right mindset, I should move in? Like, how do you know that?
I kind of mentioned this, but like, you're not going to be able to read their minds, obviously, but it's important. And I think it's the right time when you personally feel like it's coming from a positive space. I mean, like if something ends and you're just trying to like communicate with that person, like you're just trying to reach out and continue what you were doing in the kind of same situation, but as long as you're coming from a good-hearted place, that's the right time.
So like it's kind of for yourself and them. It's for the equal benefit of both.
Well, what if you're coming from a good place very soon after the ending of that relationship? Like what if even a month down the line you are in that mature good place, but the other person's not? At what point can you decipher, okay, now they are, like specifically? Because I think that's like what a lot of people struggle with, to know, okay, well, when do I reach out?
And I don't think there is any good tell or sign unless you have communicated with somebody that they know personally well and they've discussed it. But yeah, I think it just comes down to however you're feeling and if it's genuinely coming from the right place personally.
Honestly, because that's such a hard question to answer. It isn't. I think I found out the answer to that last night.
What's that?
I was talking to my friend Thomas, and I'm like, Thomas, hey man, like, when is that time? And Thomas Malaki, if you're watching this, and everyone, Thomas is one of the guys that get it, so emotionally caring, and one of my best friends. So blessed to have him. He's a great guy. Anyway, so he was telling me, he goes, it's just gonna come. It's gonna be right in front of you before you even know it. And I'm like, oh, what does that mean? He goes, if you don't pay attention to it, and the ball's in that person's court, and you already threw the ball, and the ball that you throw, it's important, the last ball that you throw is that positive note one, the one that says, hey, I forgive you, catch this. They can catch it, but until they throw that ball, but the metaphors, I always make these examples, but before that, they're holding that positive ball. Now they can either put it in the closet and go, I don't want to wear that right now, or they can hold on to it, and there's going to be a point where this ball, say you're walking, and then they throw the ball, what the heck? And you look behind, oh, it's you. No, but basically what that means is, and he was giving me an example, he was going through something where, he was over it, and then a year later, the person calls him up, out of the blue, looks at the phone and goes, what? Answers the phone. That's where the new chapter begins. It was crazy. He goes, when you throw that last ball of positivity. He didn't say ball, that's my own metaphor, but he was, in his words, when you know what you did was absolute best. The best closure is from within. It's if you know you gave your all and understanding your mistakes and learning from them. But when you've done all you could, and that's when you give space, that's when, as Robby was saying, you wait till they're in the right mindset, and you'll know. Because with God's plan, or those of you, I guess, who are not Christian, I want this to apply to anybody believing, what the universe could do, whatever, it will come in front of you, and you may not even see it coming, but if it's meant to be, it will happen. It's just trusting the plan, and that's the answer.
So if you're positive about like ending a relationship and the other person's not, do you think eventually it will come back and it'll be a positive situation? Is that kind of what you're getting at?
As Speaks was saying, you never know if you'll have that day, but I say this, and I've heard it even when I moved to LA. My buddy Jack said this. I'm like, that's what I always say. Genuine people will always find genuine people. I truly believe the person is at the bottom of their heart. Genuine people, they will let go of that anger. And when you let go of that anger, you're going to want to make things right. you don't care for it anymore. So you're like, you know what? Hey, what's going on? Like you're gonna have that positivity.
And if you're gonna 100% trust in yourself when you say, I gave it my all, then I think that then you'll be confident. Personally, I think you'll be confident and be happy with how you dealt with that.
It'll set you free in a way.
Kind of, yeah.
And the biggest thing, setting you free, and then to move on from that, learning from your mistakes. Because relationships, friendships, you know, loved ones, family members, yours with your dog, you know, as we were saying, it honestly, it's all about. I believe for a second I just lost my train of thought.
You're good. Happens to me all the time.
Learning.
We're
talking about
learning. Thank God.
Your dog. Yeah.
Any relationship you may have is honestly such a huge learning experience. It might sound cliche. It's like, man, I hate how that ended, or I wish we were still together, or I wish I still talked to that person. I wish we were just still friends. Whatever. It's like so hard to accept, but it's so true. It's kind of like, wow, like this has literally made me a better person. I know so much. You are so much more aware, and when you're aware about anything, even flaws within yourself, that's when the most growth comes in, because you're like, holy crap! Like I had no idea I was doing that wrong, and now you take that knowledge, and then I know this happened to me. You will find yourself talking with people, or even if you're in an argument with somebody, you know, like say, you know, there's a piece of paper with 18 lines. Yeah, say there's a piece of paper with 18 lines. When you learn from your mistakes, and then when you're reading the same situation, you're seeing like 36. You're seeing in between those lines. You're seeing things that you've never seen before, because you're like, wow, I didn't have that perspective before. I didn't have that empathy for that person. I had no idea this was like the, you know, this is what the person's thinking in their own shoes. It's crazy. It's such a learning experience, and that's like the beautiful thing about it. And that's why we were talking about failing. If you view your relationship as a failure, why don't you take it away and say, you know, why you're changing your perspective on failure in the first place?
Yeah, no, that's. I'm glad I can mention that. So basically, how I looked at failing was I would usually just be like very embarrassed about it, so I would avoid it altogether. But when I look at fail now as first attempt in learning, and anytime you fail, you're literally learning. And if anyone has ever done anything meaningful, they failed hundreds, maybe even thousands of times, and then they finally succeeded. So if you constantly see yourself failing, you're growing. Keep going at it. You're eventually gonna get it. You're gonna succeed. So I just wanted to.
And sometimes, like in my perspective, I don't even look at failure as a bad thing anymore. I look at it as an opportunity to grow. So sometimes, to be quite honest with you, I look forward to failing, because then I know I'm going to be in a situation where I can utilize that and shape myself to be a better version of myself in the future. It's just a mindset.
It's enjoying the process in a way, you know, because everything's not going to be, you know, all good. All
rainbows and unicorns.
Yeah, exactly.
You guys see like how like lucky we are to be roommates. Like even throughout this podcast,
we're learning more and more.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Seriously, if you hop in the shower with me one more time, dude,
oh my god,
I keep seeing you in my bed. Wake up, you gotta.
I don't know about all that. Too much. No, but even with this podcast, like, and listening to these guys speak, I'm still continuing to learn. It's like, I don't know. We're in that life talk deep mode. Like, this is exactly what we wanted to create. Like, actually asking each other questions, getting in that mindset. You know, we come into this podcast like not with a script. Okay, we're gonna talk about this. I literally told the boys, let's have the title of what we're talking, and then from then on we'll branch off and let it
see where it goes.
And if it gets a little off topic, I believe it's still, you know, some good information that can help you guys.
Sure.
Ultimately.
Yeah. Right. It's very genuine that way too. So.
And we talked about Domino's Pizza, Pizza Hut. Like it was a lot of
my dog.
It wasn't in the script.
But that being said, I think this would be actually a good proper time to end the podcast.
I think so.
I think we hit the big stuff.
I believe so as well.
I do have one last thing to say. This is one of my favorite quotes. I came up with this.
Congratulations.
No, one last thing I will say, and you know, I wanted to leave off on this note. Everyone says that everyone's feelings are valid. So like you can be in a situation and you know you can be told, well, everyone's feelings are valid. Like if they're wrong, well, they have every right to think what they think. So like no one's wrong, and it's like that's kind of confusing because it's then like, okay, well, you know, how do you go about that? You know what I mean? It's kind of confusing. And I learned in the last couple months, everyone's feelings are valid up until the point that they lose empathy, which means up until the point that they lose consideration for the other person's feelings. That's when they're invalid. And that's when, in a relationship or coming out of one, you realize your mistakes. Because, and honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I screwed up big time in some of my past relationships. And one of my biggest problems was I felt at the time my opinions were so justified that I was just thinking, you know what, like the other person's wrong, so their feelings on what, you know, they're feeling, it like doesn't matter because they're wrong. But like, again, everyone's feelings are valid up until the point they lose empathy. And so I found myself so justifying my own opinions in the moment, losing empathy for the other person. So at that point, my feelings weren't as justified. And I wanted to say that because you will find like that is obviously 9 times out of 10 the biggest reasons for fallouts of any relationship. Again, with friends, loved ones, family, anything, because, you know, and I've had arguments with my family, my friends, and, you know, especially in the last couple of months, I'm literally seeing it's just like, oh, you're wrong, you're wrong. Well, here's why I feel the way I do. Here's why I feel the way I do. But I'm just like, this is so simple. If you guys both just take a step back and you're like, okay, I think you're wrong. Okay, I think you're wrong. But hold on, like, I understand why you could think that way. I don't think you're maliciously trying to be wrong. Okay, I don't think you're maliciously trying to be wrong. It's miscommunication.
Yeah.
So we're talking about how to, like, you know, end things on a positive note. I just want to throw that in there. That's how you can avoid. That's like the biggest thing I learned, to avoid coming to having to even end things, having empathy, because then it's like with that, not, you know, with not avoiding a chance of there being miscommunication and having empathy at that time, that will take you farther than you know. So like, we don't want anyone to have to get to this point. A lot of this was advice of what to do when you get to that point, but we don't want you guys to get to that point. It is not worth it. It's just, again, whether it's not negativity on your part, whether it's for the ottle person, it's still negativity out there, and no one wants negativity, especially not us. That's not the point of this podcast.
And if you guys, if you guys have gotten to that point, you know, we're all open here, so you guys can feel free to DM us. Please do.
DM us at Shay Nagy, at Robby J. Bobby, at Nick P. McEwen. If you have any individual questions, DM us on Instagram. So that being said, let's wrap up this podcast. Thank you guys so much for watching. And we will see you guys in episode 3 Thursday, because we will do the podcast Sundays and Thursdays. So hold us to that. We're going to stay consistent, and we'll see you guys in the next episode. Thank you guys a lot.
See you guys.
See you guys.